Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so today we're exploring a seriously fascinating, scientifically backed technique that some of the most successful language learners in the world actually use to become totally confident speakers. Look, if you've ever spent hours, and I mean hours, studying a language only to completely freeze up when it's time to actually open your mouth and speak, well, this is going to be incredibly eye-opening for you. We're going to show you exactly how simply talking to yourself can literally make you fluent.
Okay, let's dive into this. What if your absolute best conversation partner was yourself? I know. It sounds kind of strange, right? Like, how is quietly muttering to yourself while you're waiting for the bus actually going to improve your speaking skills? I mean, besides making you look a little eccentric to your neighbors. Well, there's real, hard, cognitive science behind this totally counterintuitive idea. And the best part? It targets the absolute biggest hurdle that language learners face.
And that brings us to Section 1. The speaking practice problem.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real issue here. When you're trying to master a new language, your biggest barrier isn't a lack of grammar knowledge, and it's not even a small vocabulary. It's simply a lack of opportunities to actually speak. Think about it. For most of us, speaking practice only happens during a formal lesson, maybe once or twice a week if we're lucky. So the reality looks like this. Hundreds of hours spent passively listening to audiobooks, binge-watching shows on Netflix, reading textbooks, but compared to that, just a few precious minutes actually producing the language yourself. You're taking this massive mountain of information in, but you aren't training your brain to push that information back out. It's a dramatic and honestly an incredibly frustrating imbalance.
So, how do we fix it? That leads us directly into Section 2. What exactly is self-talk?
Simply put, self-talk is your golden ticket to unlimited speaking practice. It literally just means describing your thoughts, your everyday actions, your plans, and your surroundings out loud in your target language. You suddenly get the ability to practice speaking anytime, anywhere. No need to coordinate schedules with a busy tutor or wait around for a language exchange partner. And here's the best part. You aren't trying to impress anyone. You're just practicing the mechanical and mental act of turning your thoughts into speech. We're talking about really basic, everyday sentences here. Things like, I'm cutting some bread, or the coffee smells good, or I need to leave in 10 minutes. It's not about crafting these beautiful complex metaphors or giving a political speech. It's just about building a reliable daily reflex. Let's look at the cognitive psychology behind why this actually works in Section 3, the science of skill acquisition. To truly understand why this simple little habit works so incredibly well, we can look at cognitive psychologist John R. Anderson's theory of skill acquisition. Anderson's work is amazing because it helps us see what is actually happening inside our brains when we try to speak a new language. It's like a giant puzzle. He distinguishes between two very distinct types of knowledge. The first is declarative knowledge. This is the stuff you know as facts, like, say, memorizing the grammar rule for the present perfect tense. But here is the major trap for language learners. Simply knowing a rule as a declarative fact absolutely does not guarantee you can actually use it in a live, fast-paced conversation. So the crucial point is understanding the second type, procedural knowledge. These are the skills you can perform automatically, on the fly, without even thinking about it, like actual spontaneous speech. Repeatedly speaking aloud is the specific action that transforms that passive declarative knowledge into an automatic procedural skill. Self-talk acts as this vital bridge. You are physically training your brain to retrieve facts without having to awkwardly pause, search your mental memory bank, and translate. You're literally turning knowing into doing. Now, let's jump to another huge benefit in Section 4, discovering your vocabulary gaps. Have you ever spent, hours memorizing a random list of 100 vocabulary words only to completely forget them by next week? Yeah, we've all been there. Well, self-talk completely eliminates that wasted effort. Because instead of studying arbitrary lists, self-talk forces you to discover exactly which words you genuinely need in your life. The applied linguist Meryl Swain proposed this highly influential concept called the output hypothesis. And she argued that producing language helps learners notice gaps between what they want to say and what they can actually say. By forcing yourself to speak, you immediately hit a wall when you lack a word. And that wall, it clearly highlights your exact customized learning needs. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how unbelievably common these missing words usually are. Just think about words like charger or receipt or appointment. You might know how to debate climate change or global economics using all that advanced vocabulary from your textbook, but then suddenly you realize you have absolutely no idea how to say charger until you actually try to narrate yourself plugging in your phone.
This sudden and honestly kind of funny realization happens constantly when you try to narrate your everyday life.
And this realization completely changes how we should study. Traditionally, right, we're taught to learn random vocabulary grouped by rigid categories like food, animals, or transportation. But real conversations don't happen in neat little categories. They happen in totally unpredictable situations. So the brain hack here is to practice real-life situational scenarios. Narrating situations like frantically looking for your keys, or realizing you forgot your umbrella in the rain, or trying to navigate a crowded supermarket. That connects the language directly to your everyday lived experiences. It makes the vocabulary super sticky because it's immediately undeniably relevant to you.
Moving right along to Section 5, Overcoming Fear of Judgment.
Let's be totally honest with ourselves for a second. Trying to speak a new language with a native speaker can be downright terrifying. We freeze up, we're completely afraid of sounding foolish or making some glaring grammar mistake in front of them. But when you talk to yourself, you essentially act as your own highly supportive coach, which creates a massive psychological advantage. Applied linguist Elaine K. Horwitz did this extensive research on language anxiety, and it proves that the fear of negative evaluation is quite literally one of the absolute biggest barriers to fluency. Self-talk completely removes that fear. Think about it. There's no audience, there's no teacher judging you, there's zero pressure. It gives you a perfectly safe environment to stumble, pause, and make as many mistakes as you want, shifting your focus entirely to practice rather than perfection.
Let's move to Section 6 and see how this all builds into actual strategies for effective practice.
So how do we actually put all of this into action? Well, we've covered the science, we've gone through the vocabulary hacks, and the psychological benefits. Now here is your structured game plan. Step 1, talk every single day, even if it's literally only for 3 to 5 minutes. Consistency is everything here. You're trying to build a habit. Step 2, describe actual actions you are doing in the moment. Don't try to invent these complex, unrealistic conversations. Keep it firmly grounded in reality. Step 3, when you inevitably hit a vocabulary gap, quickly write down the missing word so you can look it up later. But, and this is absolutely crucial, do not stop speaking just because you're missing a single word. Substitute it, use a hand gesture, whatever. Just keep the flow going. And finally, step 4, record yourself maybe once or twice a week. Listening back is just a fantastic, completely objective way to notice your improvements over time and see just how far you've actually come. We're going to conclude our explainer today by leaving you with this powerful thought right here. Every single sentence you produce strengthens the connection between your thought and the language. And really, that is your ultimate goal. By consistently using self-talk, you will gradually stop translating words in your head and you'll start simply expressing yourself. You don't always need a conversation partner to become a confident speaker. Turns out you already have the absolute best one built right in. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative question. What is the very first sentence you're going to say to yourself in your new language today?